fuck you, you're cool, and fuck you, I'm out. Welcome in to the Bro Force Squad podcast. This is episode 66, and we are just a bunch of bros drinking beer and talking movies. I'm your host, Jeff Hornacek. Thank you guys so much for checking us out. Before we dive into all the great movie discussion we have in this episode, let's go around and meet the fellow bros joining me tonight. First, we go to the American hero, Nate Thurmond. Nate, if you had to recommend a weapon for me to use in the next bar fight I get into, what would it be and why?
If I had to pick one, it would probably be a little vibrating rabbit. And the only reason I know is because you're very familiar with those. Yeah. I really feel like you could stick that in some places to really annoy whoever you're in the bar fight with. And it'd be a different kind of annoyed. It wouldn't be like slapping across the face annoyed. It'd be a little different, but you get the job done.
Great thing there, if the fight doesn't go well, we might make some friends.
That is true. That is true.
Great networking opportunity. Bar fights are in general a great place to pass out business cards, I think.
Like on urinals.
I digest. Next, we go to our enforcer in the paint, Matt Geiger. Matt, what's the worst piece of advice anyone has ever given you?
Get with your friends and create a podcast.
By the way, I can't remember who sent it to us, but did you see that meme on the internet where it's like, a group of 3 white men or more is called a podcast?
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Very accurate.
I was like, God, well, you're not wrong.
I mean, a certain race has the NBA, we have the podcast. I mean, you decide who got better at the stick. I don't know.
It's too close to tell. It's fucking by a nose. All right, if you've not listened to our show before, or even if you have, you know that we start every episode off with the most important thing in any bro's life, and that is Chest Day. So our Chest Day topic today is the 2019 Oscars, which just came and went, and it was a different experience than years past. On this show, we have notoriously shit on award shows repeatedly, specifically the Oscars. But I think the sentiment on the internet, at least, and my personal sentiment, is that this year's version of the Academy Awards was not as shitty as years past. And actually, the ratings for the first time in 5 years increased. So not as high as our Broskers award show, which you, by the way, check out episode 65 of that if you haven't. But guys, wanted to get your thoughts on this year's show, both the winners of the key awards, which we have listed. We don't have to go over all of them, but anything that stood out to you. And then I guess the state of the show in general. Like, do you still like award shows? And if not, what do they need to do or fix for you to really give a shit again? Geiger, we'll go to you first because you just watched the Grammys a few weeks ago. And I know that's kind of a good frame of reference, at least, for how to get this right or wrong, the formula of the award show in modern day. So what'd you think of the Oscars?
I don't want to give myself a nickname on the podcast, but I am definitely the award show guy. I will stop down and watch any award show. I've watched the Grammys, and this year's Oscars, I'm definitely with the mass public. It was fucking fantastic. Not having a host didn't hurt it at all. Actually, I think it helped it move along way more smoothly. Going to Jeff's point on the awards, the only thing I disagreed with was Glenn Close not getting the award for Best Actress. I agree with Mahershala Ali. I agreed with Rami Malek. I agreed with Green Book, even though I love Star is Born. However, I just think Green Book was better directed and better acted. But all in all, I thought it was a fantastic show, and it kept me hooked the whole time, which it usually doesn't. There's usually times that I'm like, let's fucking go, or if I'm behind, I'd fast forward. But this one's probably the best Oscars I've seen in probably about 5 years.
Yeah, I can't imagine anyone will be like, dude, they needed a fucking host for this. Because I actually remember at times during the show this year, I was like, dude, what do they need the host for? Like, this is moving way more smoothly. Normally the monologues are like, Hollywood does not like to laugh at themselves. And so no one wants to host because their only job is to like make fun of the people there. And we all remember the famous, I'm sure you guys have seen it, the gif of Jonah Hill going like the throat slit when someone like quote unquote went too far on a joke. So yeah, at least speaking of the host point, I thought this year went very, very smooth without it. And I was dying laughing when Amy Poehler, Maya Rudolph, and Tina Fey went up there to open and made fun of like how stupid the job of hosting the Oscars is. I thought that was pretty meta and hilarious. Nate, how about you?
What do you think the possibilities in the going forward without a host is because of the huge reception that they've seen already without having a host this year?
As long as Twitter is around and dates back to like 2007, probably pretty high, right?
I like those stats. Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot.
I mean, the fact that the ratings were up, I don't think the ratings did gangbusters, but like it's live television, so like you would CBS or ABC, whoever has it each year, has to expect decent numbers from this. And to be honest, I think when the artist won Best Picture, I think I realized, okay, maybe the Oscars are just not for me anymore. If a silent French film is winning Best Picture, I mean, no offense, it's probably a good movie, but like that could not be less accessible to me as a moviegoer. So when that starts winning, I think I was kind of started to tune it out. But especially do we know if they're bringing that popular film category back next year? I know they nixed it this year, but I didn't know if it was still on the table. Does anyone know?
I'm hoping.
I haven't heard.
If Major League Baseball gets a pitch clock, then the Oscars should be able to have a fucking popular movie category.
Yeah, because we all know what would have won it this year, right?
Black Panther.
Mission Impossible Fallout, not even fucking close. They shouldn't even nominate anyone else. I was glad though that Black Panther did finally get some love. I actually tweeted when it came out. I said, "All right, the DCEU and the MCU both have Oscars now. Can we stop killing each other over this?"
It was good, but let me just remind you for everyone that wants, and I don't want to get a conversation comparing Black Panther to The Dark Knight, but let's just all remember that Suicide Squad won a fucking Oscar too. Let's just all remember that. You don't have to be a good movie to win an Oscar. Not that Black Panther was a fantastic movie, but you could just win for costume design and be a shitty ass movie.
Right, but that was the DCEU argument for a long time. Like, well, we have an Oscar.
Oh yeah, I totally understand, but it doesn't make like, oh well, this movie won an Oscar, it must be really good. That's not. It's good at one thing. That's true, but it doesn't make it a great movie.
Right.
But
Dark Knight is my favorite movie of all time, and to my knowledge, it didn't win an Oscar. It might have won something, but
Dark Knight won. The Dark Knight won 2 Oscars. Heath won Best Supporting, and then
that's right. I was thinking of like screenplay or like the film wasn't nominated.
No, not like big categories. No.
Right.
Yeah. Well, can we all talk about the elephant in the room, the eye fucking that Lady Gaga gave Bradley Cooper and vice versa throughout their whole song?
Some of the memes that have come from like them penetrating each other visually have been great on the internet. The internet works so fucking fast. It's kind of
anytime anyone uses the word penetrate, I'm gonna laugh, and I just almost spit up beer right then.
How
great.
is it that if we go to a bar with our wives and we're caught like looking at a girl in the bathroom, we get hit and no sex, but Bradley Cooper can have sex with someone on screen and his wife is just like, he's such an artist. I don't get it. We need to just
they went home and fucked
and it's, I guess, better. I don't know.
The crazy thing, my fiance was showing me this text thread between her and all of her friends. There is a conspiracy theory started that Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga, I know it's pronounced Gaga, but we're pretentious on this show, and Lady Gaga have been basically fucking since they started the publicity tour for that movie. And Bradley Cooper has a handshake agreement with his baby mama that for appearances it would look better right now, which I disagree with this in general, but it's really fun to gossip about, that it would look better if they were just like romanticizing about each other and not together yet while promoting the film. But I think it'd be better if they were actually on stage. Sex sells, guys.
Absolutely. That's what made Mr. and Mrs. Smith so cool, because you knew they were fucking off screen.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's one point in the song where you could tell she got so caught up in the moment, she almost went in for a kiss and then kind of pulled back. It was pretty funny.
The women in this town are so horny. And by this town, I mean L.A.
It's like fishing dynamite.
It's not even fair. 2 things I'll say. One, just piggybacking off that. Very glad that Shallow won for Best Original Song. Just helps restore my faith in the Oscars. And then Mahershala Ali for Green. So the Green Book controversy, I guess. The character Mahershala Ali, who he plays in the film, apparently didn't even know this movie was being made until like 2 years ago. So they weren't consulted about it, which I find hard to believe from a legal standpoint. But apparently they didn't know about it. They weren't asked to sign off on like the story or anything. And so that's why there's sort of this animosity or this dissension between a lot of fans. And apparently like when they announced it as Best Picture, Spike Lee got up and left. Now I know he definitely tends to be a little dramatic at times. But apparently that's where like, because I love the movie too, Geiger, I'm with you. I think it was my favorite movie that was nominated, but that's why some people have an issue with it, I guess.
Right. And I'm sorry, but I don't really have an opinion on that. I haven't done enough research on it, and I don't want to say anything about it because I really love the movie too. And I'm not sure. I know the family has a really Mahershala Ali, the character, his family has a bad problem with it. The reason I don't want to say anything about it is because I've been so harsh on Bohemian Rhapsody for good fucking reason because they just made Mercury look bad like they did in the fucking Doors movie. And if I said something good about Green Book, that'd make me basically like the Christian that tells you to go to church every Sunday while he's cheating on his wife on Saturday. And I don't want to be like that. So I'm just gonna say it was a good movie. Other than that, I'm not really up to date on exactly what's going on with it.
Geiger, one thing I actually just heard about today, you are gonna fucking love / hate this. So this is a true story. Apparently, after Rami Malek accepted his award for Best Actor, he slipped and fell on something backstage. So the photo with all the Oscar winners together that they typically take, Brian fucking May from Queen jumped in his place.
God, he's just so starved for attention. It's awesome.
I mean, is that guy not like the biggest joke in the world? Like, what?
I hate him so much because I could, and I'm not going to do this, but I could name 50 better guitars than him just fucking right now, but I'm not going to fucking do that because we don't have time. But yeah, he needs to go away. I'm so glad that the Oscars are over, so maybe Queen can just. I love classic rock, and I hate fucking Queen. I hate listening to all their overplayed bullshit songs, and hopefully it'll just go away now.
The best thing I love is we love a good conspiracy theory on this pod. Now there's one that Brian May put out a hit on Rami Malek so that he would get injured backstage, and he was planning on jumping in the Oscar photo.
Yeah, probably. I'm not sure he didn't somehow is like behind Mercury getting AIDS too, kind of like the Courtney Love thing. I will buy any conspiracy theory if you just sit down and have a beer with me.
Oh, Avril Lavigne is definitely dead. Look that up on YouTube after this.
Oh God, that's a rabbit hole you will never get out of.
She's been dead since 2004. One last thing, Geiger. So some people took issue with this, but I guess he kind of made an offhand allusion to it. When Rami Malek won, he didn't explicitly thank Freddie Mercury or his estate. Did you have issue with his speech at all, or do you think he was just kind of up in the moment and?
I hate to say that because I public speak a lot. Sometimes you forget, but how the fuck can you forget to thank the person that basically you studied the whole time? But that wasn't as bad as the Solo documentary one, where the lady fucking thanked the guy's girlfriend and it's like, you were the inspiration behind this and you did such a great job. I'm like, dude, she didn't do shit. The other guy's the one that fucking climbed the rock. That was fucking terrible too. And I'm like, I know the women empowerment movement, that's cool, but you're going to thank his girlfriend, not the one that actually put his fucking life on the line and made this documentary.
There was another weird moment. I can't remember. I want to say it was one of the maybe cinematography when Roma won. But one of the guys goes up there, and there has to be some rule against this. But he threw out like an advertisement. He's like, I want to thank Nova Cameras.
Yeah.
Everyone's like,
just gotta make that money. Gotta put that
cheddar. All right, I respect it from a business standpoint, but it's like that is such a slippery slope.
The other three, if we're getting into that, there was 3 people that went up there that kept taking turns reading, but no one knew what turn it was. And
that was cringeworthy. Was that not the quickest playoff you've ever heard? They were like 20.
So like, is it going good? And this show's already up against it, so we need to fucking get these people off the stage.
They were like 20 seconds into their speech, and the Oscars were like, get them off. It's like when a pitcher comes out and like walks the first 2 batters on 8 pitches. You're like, dude, I don't need to see anymore. You don't fucking have it today. So
it really shows your personality though in the playoff music, because some people will be like, oh, okay, and they'll get like really quiet. Then some people will be like, I will talk over this. God damn it, I'm going to say my whole fucking speech.
Olivia Colman, who won for The Favorite, which I actually do agree. I think she was good in that movie, even though I thought it was just too weird for me to really latch onto. When she saw that,
deserve that, I really did. But go ahead.
Yeah, Glenn Close's, I think, would have been the Lifetime Achievement Award, which I'm totally fine with.
Yeah. 7
nominations, she deserves it. She's that good of an actress. But Olivia Colman, I think something came up on the teleprompter that said like, "Hurry up and finish," and she just goes, "Oh," made like a fart noise. And I thought her speech was hilarious and like really candid.
Yeah.
And
there were some good speeches for sure.
Definitely. All right, before we move on, Nate, last thoughts on the 2019 Oscars. Do you care again, or is it kind of like M. Night Shyamalan, where you gotta hit 2 home runs consecutively before I really invest in you again?
Yeah, and especially with this one, I was too wrapped up in the True Detective season finale to really invest too much time in it. But
check out a review on True Detective.
Yes, but I mean, like it was discussed. I think that the no host really kind of made it flow a little better. But yeah, I like your analogies. Let's hit 2 in a row before we start handing out HJs to everybody.
Right. This might have just been a heat check, so we need to see if you're actually on fire. Have your jump shot back.
Yep.
Geiger, before we move on, how about you? Last thoughts?
Yeah, I'm kind of with Nate. Other than that, you can make some pretty fun drinking games on this. Whenever Trump's wall comes up, drink a shot, women empowerment, all that stuff. Other than that, I actually thought it was a pretty good show, though.
If you're an alcoholic enough, you can make a drinking game out of anything.
Yeah, that's true.
Challenge accepted. And then you can make a drinking game to the drinking game. Just really fun. Okay. All right. Next part of our show is our protein shake, where we go around I guess it's a triangle. I'm good. I do shapes good. And we talk about what is in our protein shake, also known as what have we watched lately. This is, for me, actually a relatively light week. So normally I have to divide actually, you know what? I cut mine in half last time because I'm such a sick fuck. That's why it's so light. So Geiger, we'll let you go first. What's in your cup, AKA what have you watched lately?
Yeah, I just got 2 things. The Kid comes out this month, the new Billy the Kid movie. So I've been getting back into Westerns, and I started the show Yellowstone, which is on Paramount. I've been watching on demand with Kevin Costner. It's not technically like an old school Western. It's more modern day, where he has a big ranch out on Yellowstone, of course, in Montana. And basically the city wants basically to take his land and make mini malls and like a new fucking shopping center and a bar district and shit. So he's trying to fight against it. There's Native American casinos. I'm not so into it that I know basically where all these spider webs kind of intertangle, but the character development so far is really good. He's got a pretty big family, 2 sons and a daughter. The daughter and the son are both his lawyers that's trying to help him. The other son's kind of an outcast cowboy that kind of lives out there, has a son, and Costner never gets to see his grandson. I'm not really sure what's going on in that relationship. But anything with Kevin Costner as a Western, or if he plays baseball or golf, I'm definitely into. It's pretty good. I'm about 3-4 episodes in, but I like it so far. And then because the Billy Kid movie came out, I watched the original Young Guns, where Emilio Estevez plays Billy the Kid, and it still holds up, dude. I mean, it's an 80s Western with him, Charlie Sheen, the dude that plays in La Bamba, and Kiefer Sutherland. But it's a really good one too, and it's on Netflix.
So I looked up Yellowstone on IMDb as you were talking, and I'm going to fucking check this show out because the writer-director, Taylor Sheridan, also wrote and directed that movie Wind River that I was telling you guys about with Jeremy Renner and Elizabeth Olsen. So if this even holds a candle to that, then I'm definitely in.
If I described it and you think it's a little slow, there's a lot of guns and shit in it too. And I'm just waiting. There's about to be a big shootout between the fucking sheriffs and Costner and his fucking crew. But it's pretty interesting so far.
Kelly Riley, who plays Beth Dutton in it, I'm guessing Kevin Costner's wife. Yep. She was in True Detective Season 2 and also the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes movies.
Yeah, she was just getting pounded on the screen before I came on pod, actually.
Whoa.
That's incredibly graphic.
Yeah, it's on demand, you said?
What timestamp? What time mark for that? By the way,
this is season 1, episode 1, I believe. About, I don't know. I'm not quite sure of this, but I'm pretty sure it's 12 minutes 56 seconds.
All right, don't worry, I'll find it. Can we stop the podcast for about an hour and just come back?
You don't need that long.
He's like 10 minutes. Let's be honest here.
Then I need a recovery period, ice bath, all that stuff. It's a
Gatorade.
True.
All right, Nate, what's in your cup? What have you watched lately?
So for me, it's kind of a theme here. There's not too much new going on, but with Game of Thrones season 8 coming out this.
Oh, that show got renewed?
April. Yeah, allegedly. They had to get some outside investors to really pool some money in to get them to where they needed to be.
Kickstarter campaign was needed.
But, it worked out for them. They've got some no names that they're trying to build up. But started the rewatch for that just into season 2. This is actually the second time, or well, now the third time that I've gone through it. But just really getting back through that, watching all that, so we're ready for April 14th. Mark it on your calendars. No one forget.
I hear it's a big day.
Yeah, it's a big day. As previously alluded, Masters Sunday, and we're moving into Game of Thrones.
The Legend of Bagger Vance will be dropping that day, which will be a me and Nate Thurman movie commentary.
Boom.
Recorded
calendar. Trifecta. Thank you for tying that together, Geiger. And then really another replay that I'll do is I'm going back through Parks and Rec, which is really overshadowed by The Office. Same producers, creators, and but Ron Swanson is kind of my spirit animal. Tonight had a nice steak in the oven, grilled it, seared it in the cast iron. But going back through that, not too much going on right now as far as any other new movies or anything. But that's the thing I'll do when I'm feeling lazy. It's either turn on The Office or turn on Parks and Rec and go back and just sit there and laugh and have a good time.
I'm so glad that and The Office are on Netflix, because it's crazy how many times you'll log in and it's all just like Netflix trash or shit that's like too heavy to just watch while you're trying to eat dinner. So a nice 20-minute episode of one of those two is just so perfect.
Like it'll be like 20 minutes until I want to go to bed. I'm like, I can't start something new. All right, Parks and Rec it is.
Yeah, and we're not like Banner where we can watch 14 episodes. He somehow watches 14 episodes of a show in 3 hours, even though it's like 7 hours of television. I don't really understand it. I think he exists in it.
Time is a flat circle, and he exists within it.
Wow. Second True Detective. What the fuck is going on?
I'm just trying to feel around.
It's the beer talking. It's the beer.
Heat check. Get him the ball. Is that all you had, Nate?
Yeah, that's it.
All right, couple things I watched. I saw that movie 8th Grade, directed by Bo Burnham. That was getting a little bit of Oscar buzz last year. It's on Amazon Prime. I know Cycly, I think he was a pretty big fan of it. I'll say this. So it's a lot of non-actors in it, or people that you haven't ever really seen, which I thought was kind of cool. Like, I always liked it. It's one of those projects where, you know, he's kind of trying to buy low on a lot of people, where you're like, all right, in 6-7 years, we could be like, okay, yeah, this was like so-and-so's first project. And the girl Elsie Fisher in it was really good. I think it was an incredibly accurate depiction of like what life is like in 8th grade, how like one event, like the movie centers around this, like as an adult, it's fucking trivial and stupid, but it's this pool party to start the summer. And you're like, okay. But to her, it's like the summer before high school. It's like the biggest fucking social event. And it's like this massive event and life-changing moments, seemingly. And for us, it's like, yeah, that's really not that important. But it was kind of a cool way to look at how when you're in 8th grade, moments like that are magnified to like insane extents. And you think like this moment is going to determine the rest of my life. On the whole, though, I just didn't really feel like the movie went anywhere.
Feels good on the whole.
On the whole, Preparation H does feel good. I don't know, Scott. So I don't know if I would recommend 8th grade, but it was definitely interesting. And Bo Burnham was a guy that I did not know had any type of like directorial ability. So that was kind of interesting because I only know him from his like goofy stand-up on the keyboard.
Yeah, I just thought it was some slapdick with some jokes.
Exactly. And he still might be just that. But I mean, this is like a pretty well put together movie. Even though I wasn't the biggest fan of it, it was pretty well made. Another thing, I have a problem.
Yeah,
so
you did say Gucci after you're done.
Oh yeah, it's Gucci. So you have seen it too?
Fuck yeah, I actually enjoyed it. I talked about it on a pod in an episode, I'm pretty sure, because I know Cycly recommended it. And if Cycly recommends something, I will probably just avoid my wife and go watch it because I trust him. So
my fault. I didn't know. So do you think that's a pretty accurate description of it? Like how it just sort of magnifies how these events that you don't think mean much, like mean the world?
Yeah, I mean, maybe not for her. For me, because, well, with her, but I identified with some of the people in there in 8th grade. Maybe not totally was me, but there's some parts of it I'm like, oh yeah, I knew a person like that, or I bet it was hard for this one girl that I kind of pictured was like that. But yeah, I thought it was very well done. It's a little different because of our age, because we didn't have the technology in 8th grade that they did, but it's pretty much like that right now. I thought it was a fantastic movie.
So I'm going to plug this with one of the previous protein shakes that I had with Sex Education, with you guys talking about this. It's a great one. Just want to throw that one back out there. It's
on Netflix, right?
It's on Netflix. Kind of relatable, and especially for all of our listeners overseas, because it's a British rendition. Yeah. So
you can say it, but Geiger has beef with the British. We all know that.
Yeah, I know, and that was brought up at the time. But yeah, I just want to plug that one again because I think that one needs some more pub.
Yeah, you just stay over there, and I'll stay over here, and there's no beef.
What's the line in Reno 911? What this paper says is you stay out of my fucking yard and I'll stay out of yours.
Yeah, no, that's not what the paper says. Paper says that a sex offender is moving next door.
Moving in next door and he teaches kids. That's a great scene. Another thing I watched, I did this again, seemingly on accident, but it was a Saturday and I had some errands to run. And I said, all right, while I'm getting ready, having my coffee, I'll just start Avengers Infinity War. 2 hours, 40 minutes later, I watched the whole fucking thing for the 5th or 6th time. I really like that movie, man. And like, you don't realize it but like every time I was about to turn away, I was like, oh fuck, but this scene's next. And it's like more of my favorite superheroes getting together. So it goes without being said, I'm very excited for Endgame. And that being on Netflix is a problem. It's like an alcoholic living next to a liquor store. Like I can't stay away. We actually did a review on this next one for the podcast. Check it out with Cycling and I. But I saw Velvet Buzzsaw on Netflix, which is the Netflix original movie with actually a really good cast. Jake Gyllenhaal, John Malkovich, Rene Russo. Pretty much, I think Nate and I talked about this on a previous podcast, but the people that Netflix gets for these movies now no longer shock us and are no longer like, that's what I would expect from a Netflix original movie. Like,
yeah, it's insane the star power that they're getting. Like I think I mentioned this in one of the earlier podcasts when I was talking about Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon Prime and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, they're just getting huge fucking names. It's not like back in the day if you were a movie star that had some weight behind it because that's where all the stars showed up. Now stars will show up anywhere that'll pay them pretty much. So you're seeing big names all over the place, like the Scorsese and DiCaprio, I believe, Hulu project that's coming out soon.
Yeah, I've read about that. And then of course The Irishman, if it's even real, coming out on Netflix. Triple Frontier next month with Affleck, Oscar Isaac, Charlie Hunnam, Garrett Hedlund. So the list goes on and on. But Velvet Buzzsaw was an interesting watch. Again, check out our spoilers review for if you have seen it. I think Cycly especially has some interesting takes. But I'm glad I watched it. I don't know if I would recommend it to anyone, but it's the type of movie that, like, if Netflix would have gotten this 2 years ago, we would have been like, whose dick did you suck to get those guys in a Netflix movie? And now they just have, I mean, they had the fucking Best Picture nominee that a lot of people think should have won in Roma. So their clout is at its top peak level.
Yeah, do you think, sorry to touch on that a little bit, the Roma snub was kind of a snub at it just being a Netflix show as far as not being a long-running show in the theaters?
Yeah, I do. And part of the reason I think that is Steven Spielberg came out the week before and kind of shit on the idea that these Netflix movies are getting nominated, which I kind of took offense to. Like, come on, dude. Like, just stop.
Yeah, they're still quality movies.
Yeah.
Right. I just thought it was kind of a petty jab, especially from someone like, okay, I know Steven Spielberg, you know, you could say he's 10 years removed from like his consistently best work, depending what you think of like Bridge of Spies. But I just didn't think it was necessary to take a jab at, you know, he's someone who's always been like on the precipice of cinema, right? And like, what's the next great thing? Well, that's it. And like, we're there. So either embrace it or you sound like an old man yelling at the cloud, I feel like.
Well, in the next 2 years, he's probably going to sign some fucking huge deal with Netflix or Hulu to make 3 or 4 movies.
Absolutely. And if Adam Sandler can get a deal like that, I have a feeling Steven Spielberg could too.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I watched, Geiger, this is going to break your heart, but a movie called Unfinished Business. I'm not sure if you guys remember this. It's on FX Now, the streaming app. It has the thing Geiger and I love in a comedy movie, and that's Vince Vaughn is a traveling salesman who needs to make a sale and requires his fast talking. It's rated R. It's a comedy. It's from, I think, 2015. Dave Franco's in the cast. Tom Wilkinson, who plays Carmine Falcone in Batman Begins.
Yeah, I remember this one. Okay, yeah.
James Marsden is in it. He's the guy they're trying to sell to. Like, everything's lining up, right? The stars are aligned. I get into the movie. Vince Vaughn is pretty funny, but Dave Franco in this thing gives what I am willing to go on record as saying the worst performance in a comedy movie that I've seen in the last 5 years. He's supposed to play someone kind of on the spectrum. I don't know if he has like a mild form of autism or what, but his name, this is like a microcosm of how bad all of his jokes are. His name, and they think humor is derivative of this, is Mike Pancake.
Yeah, I remember all this from the trailer. This is all coming back to me.
Yeah. So that's all I'll leave you with. Don't watch Unfinished Business unless you hate yourself.
I think I might now.
Vince Vaughn is funny in it. I remember telling my fiance, I was like, can we just make him the only person in this movie? Like him trying to sell this guy? Because that was fucking hilarious. And there's one part in the movie where they're on a business trip and his meeting got pushed from a Wednesday to Friday. So they have a quote unquote off day on Thursday. And he talks about how you have to handle the off day. You can't let the off day beat you. And there's this whole hilarious monologue about that. But it's drowned in this Dave Franco performance. He is the cinder block tied to the ankles of this movie. And it's disgusting what he did. I hope that when he cashed his check for that film, Capital One was like, we can't put this in your account.
We're going to just take this.
Yeah, or whoever the fuck.
Go into the bank.
Whoever he banks with. All right, and one last thing before we move on. I didn't really know where to fit this in. I didn't actually watch this movie, but I saw it on the TV guide. Or not the TV guide, it was fucking 1906. I saw it on the guide for my cable. And we all know the original, the Now You See Me movie, right? With the magicians, Jesse Eisenberg, actually the aforementioned Dave Franco, Woody Harrelson, Isla Fisher. We all know that film, right?
Of course.
So the sequel, Now You See Me 2, is playing, I actually think, on FX again, because everything is. And it really bothers me that movie is called Now You See Me 2 and not Now You Don't, as the magician's catchphrase goes. Is that a problem with anyone else? Am I just a lone psychopath here?
I mean, global warming was the number one problem I was worried about, but I think that what you just said tops that list now, even.
If you get a wink of sleep tonight knowing that you live in a world where the sequel to Now You See Me is called Now You See Me 2, you're a sick person.
The government just dropped all the blocks that they're going to build around Mexico and the United States. And we're like, we need to fucking go to Hollywood right now and correct this wrong.
Yeah, how do we get this changed on every streaming service, every cable channel? And let's even go back and pick up all the Blu-rays and DVDs and put new slip covers in them. This is priority number one. They can take my fucking tax dollars if that's where it's going.
Gladly.
All right, before we move on to our last part of the show, I think our producer God up in the clouds. Let me set it up.
I'm sorry.
You know what?
Go ahead. No, do your thing. Do your thing.
You can edit this to sound however you want anyway.
I'm too drunk to do that. So just do your thing and then give me a point. Give me a point and I'll come in.
Okay, our producer God, Brian Banner, who's been sitting out. You just got us a technical foul because you ran onto the court in the middle of the game. But Brian, do you have a question from up in the booth?
Bruh.
See, I know not to jump in because he always does it twice.
Lift? You even lift?
And that brings us to Do You Even Lift, Bruh? Which is our question and answer segment where we read questions that we dug up from around the internet and answer them on our show. Our first question comes to us from Dylan Mentis, at Dylan Mentis, who asks, if you could improve a film franchise by taking out one movie and pretending it never happened, what would it be? Geiger.
This is an easy one for me. And I might have to take out two. But if you just take out X3 Last Stand and Origins Wolverine, that X-Men, that wouldn't be a trilogy. Let's just call it the franchise. Would actually be, I don't think it would be as good as Christopher Nolan's, but it would be in the same fucking conversation because that would mean that right after X2, you would do X-Men First Class, then you do the Wolverine, then you do Days of Future Past. Those are a lot of great movies, and the timeline actually kind of makes sense. Pretty much does make sense.
Yeah, and you know what the great thing is? If you take out Origins Wolverine, I mean, we can even tie like Deadpool makes sense.
Yeah,
in this
yeah,
universe.
Deadpool could be in it too. We could be talking about this franchise, and Fox wouldn't be selling out because they would be competing with Marvel right now.
Okay, okay. I know I'm producing, but I gotta jump in. Okay.
Well,
First off, if you take out Last Stand, then the Wolverine doesn't make sense. The whole thing is he has PTSD from killing Jean. So if you take out The Last Stand, you have to take out the Wolverine. That doesn't even make sense. Why would you even do that?
Or we could have just made a good movie where Jean dies. But actually, you know what? They're just making the same movie again.
Yeah, they're going to do it again. It's fine, but it's a different timeline. I can explain it to you if you got some time.
No, we're good. Let's do that off pod.
Bye.
I still think it would make way more sense than we have now, for sure.
Also, forget continuity. Can we just take those out because they're not good movies?
Yeah, yeah.
The Last Stand is a good movie, though. It's not a great movie, but it's a fine movie.
It just went from good to fine in 2 seconds. All right. Nate, how about you?
I feel like this is pretty low-hanging fruit, and it's easy because you're just chopping off the end of the dick on this one. But
is that a phrase, chopping off the end of the dick?
I literally have never heard it. I just made it up.
Sounds horrible.
Have Cycling trademark it. That's ours now.
Yeah, can we trademark that for cutting off the last movie of a franchise?
Isn't the end of the dick like the part you need?
Yeah, that's like, why would you do that?
I feel like it's the most sensitive, so it's like the best feeling in sex.
You can survive with only one ball, but I don't think you survive without the end of your dick. I don't know. Continue, though.
Three off.
I don't know if I can focus now. I'm just thinking about. Okay, never mind. Anyways, hold on. Let me compose myself.
I can go if you want to like lock it up.
No, hold on. I got this. It'll be a short, sweet answer. But the Crystal Skulls, Indiana Jones. I mean, if we just cut that one off at the end,
what's wrong with that movie?
We don't have enough time.
Oh, everything. Okay.
We don't have the time to go through all that. But cut that off. Leave it as a trilogy. Maybe just throw that into the dark abyss of the outer space. Maybe try again because I like reboots and I like trying to refresh that franchise, but they just really did not hit the mark on that one. And you can also watch the Raiders of the Lost Ark commentary. I believe Banner and Geiger did.
Correct. Yeah. Check that
so
out.
Go ahead and check that out. The non-shitty movie of the Indiana Jones franchise.
They should put that on the DVD case. Non-shitty Indiana
Non-shitty movie.
Shitty one. That's what it says on the front.
They're making another Indiana Jones, assuming Harrison Ford is alive long enough to do it. So Shia LaBeouf will not be returning.
Oh boy.
I have two. One is I was trying to find one here that was like sandwiched in the middle that sucked because to Nate's point, a lot of time we see these like at the end of a franchise where it's like they just went back to the well one too many times, because it happens a lot, especially when you're like reviving something. But the second Hangover movie, if that's taken, I actually really like the third one. And of course the first one is like a top, 25 comedy movie of all time, I think. And the third one is different because the second one, they literally just ripped off the first one, like the exact same plot, just in a different city. That's not like Bangkok is not as relatable to the casual moviegoer. Vegas is, case in point, the fun of it. And then the second one, they go back to Vegas like sick people to chase Chow, which is pretty awesome. So take out the second Hangover, and I think we got. I don't know if 2 is a franchise, but we definitely got something going there.
No, I like that. Yeah, taking out the middle. I mean, Bangkok, like you said, isn't relatable to as many people. Get something that the audience can relate to, and it's going to be more popular, and everyone's going to like it more.
Plus, the only way that movie, the second Hangover, wouldn't have worked is if you tried to do what you did in the first one, but do it better. And that's exactly what they tried to do. And then another one, and this is a tough one for me to say because I love this franchise, and honestly, we should probably be removing like 2 or 3 of these, if not more. But Saw 6, it's incredibly unnecessary to the Saw canon. Check out our Saw 1 and 2 movie commentaries. Cycling and I are huge fans of this franchise, but also the entire movie is basically just it's very political. It's just a rant against insurance companies, which really fucking annoyed me. And I realized it about 30 minutes in, because all Jigsaw's doing is taking like bad insurance agents and putting them in traps.
I'm going to be honest. I didn't know they got past Saw 3.
Farm.
Yeah, he basically tried to kill Jake from State Farm. What'd you say, Nate?
I said, I'm going to be honest. I didn't know they got past a Saw 3. So.
Well, it got really bad because the 7th Saw is actually called Saw 3D because it was in 3D.
Wait, can you explain that a little more? You lost me.
I don't understand it. It's too smart for me.
It's pretty highbrow stuff.
Right. It's not for the layman. Let me put it that way. All right. Thanks for the question, Dylan. Interested to hear your thoughts. Tweet at us at Bro4Squad. Next question comes to us from DF Bowstrong at BowstrongD, and he asks, Hollywood seems to love a trend such as westerns in the 60s, gangster films in the 80s, and obviously now we're in a huge superhero phase. What do you think the next craze will be, and what would you like it to be? I'd love to see more fantasy films. So fantasy, I think, had a really solid middle run, or brief run, really, with just kind of the Lord of the Rings trilogies. Could definitely come back at some point. I know Henry Cavill is in a Witcher movie, which is a franchise that a lot of people have high hopes for. Nate, anything that comes to mind for you as far as a craze with Hollywood that you could see being the next big thing, or that we might currently be in the state of?
Yeah, I've seen a slight resurgence, and I hope there is some more behind it. And it kind of goes off what he had mentioned actually in the tweet. I'm hoping that there is a resurgence of Western movies and or Western TV series. So I know they're actually coming out with, pardon me for not knowing exactly, but they're doing something additional to Deadwood, which was
I think just another season.
Yeah, from a series a while back. But I know me and Guy are huge Western fans. Check out our 310 to Yuma commentary. That's one of my favorite Westerns that's come out in recent years. But then they had Godless recently on Netflix as well with Jeff Daniels, which is great. So I would love to see a resurgence of that, whether it's in series form or movie form. I don't care. I could see a lot coming out on some of the streaming services. That's kind of where some of them are really coming out in their small resurgence already. And on top of that, with the new Buster Scruggs that came out recently, which was a weird, funny twist on some Western series. I don't know what to call it. It was like a book of like 5.
Yeah, they were like separate but not separate, kind of.
Yeah, they were non sequiturs. But that's what I would really like to see. You've seen a small resurgence of it, like I said, with Deadwood and Godless coming out. But I'd like to see them enunciate on that. That's not the right word. I'm drunk.
Yeah, I agree, Geiger. And we actually got the kid coming out. It's just to further drive the point home.
Yeah, I agree with Thurman, and I bet a lot of people think that's what I was going to say too. However, I'm going a different way, and this is just about to explode, and I think this is going to be, in about 10 years, what this year to comic book movies was. I think we might get about 5 or 6 of these movies, and that is classic rock films. Bohemian Rhapsody, as much as I had a problem with it, whenever I saw the trailer, my eyes got huge because I'm a huge fan of classic rock. I think it's the best genre of music ever, especially maybe not 80s hair, but kind of 60s Beatles, Rolling Stones, going into the 70s with Zeppelin, Skinner, Creedence Clearwater Revival, Eagles. I would love to see an Eagles movie. I'd love to see a Zeppelin movie. I'd love to see a Beatles movie. I'd love to see a Rolling Stones movie. And these are just getting started. We already talked about Motley Crue movie coming on Netflix, I believe March 5th. Taron Egerton is going to be Elton John next year. And they haven't even tapped into the ones that are like really big. I'd like to see a Van Halen movie. There was so much dysfunction in that fucking band and all the drugs around it. I'd love to see a Nirvana movie. And I think there's a ton of actors that could do this so well. And actors are really getting into the fad of, I don't want to just act. I want to learn how to sing. I want to learn how to play guitar. I want to take my craft to the next level because that's what gets Oscar attention. And I think I think you might get in about 4 to 5 years, like 3, 4, maybe 5, just music movies, which I'm a fan of. Behind the Music was so cool when we were in middle school because I'm like, God,
so fucking cool.
Like these guys did so much drugs. It was fucking awesome. And their music was badass. They wrote their own music. They weren't Luke Bryant that had some cowboy write it. I'm like, hey, what am I reading today? They wrote it. Go to a cabin out in California for months and basically do drugs. And they'd tell their wives, like, we're not coming back till the record's done. And they just do drugs for fucking months and write music. And I'd love to see that on screen. And I think that's the next big thing in Hollywood. You
know how badly I want an Oasis biopic.
An Oasis movie would be bitchin'. And I guess I didn't even talk about hip hop, but the NWA movie that came out, there's a Tupac movie that came out, there's a Biggie movie that came out. I'd like to see an Eminem movie. That'd be fucking bitchin'. I mean, not just 8 Mile, but someone playing Eminem.
I want to see a biopic on Exhibit, not his, discography, but how he got to do Pimp My Ride.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Pimp My Ride. I watched so many of those episodes back in the day.
We need to bring that fucking show back, man.
Hell yeah.
These cars were all so stupid looking. For me, this is one that we might kind of be in the midst of right now. But I'd like to see some more kind of paranormal thrillers or pseudo-paranormal thrillers. The sad thing is my main reference point for this are mostly Jordan Peele projects. Like Get Out, Us looks like it's going to be that. He's doing the Twilight Zone series on CBS coming out soon. I think It Chapter 2 and It, obviously, kind of play into that. It was a huge hit at the box office. So I'd like to see more of those. Happy Death Day got 2 movies. Premises like that. And with 3D and, like 4D and these different theater experiences supposedly on the precipice of being more mainstream, I think that genre in and of itself could be so immersive and fucking creepy and like, how much would you pay to go? Like, wouldn't you be willing to pay like the extra $10 for your ticket if it was like a murder mystery and the whole time you're in the theater, like you're in the house with the characters trying to figure it out and like feeling the fear with them? That to me is a cool theater experience. And as the technology gets there, or they're working to get it there, I think is one of these that plays really, really well into that medium. So I don't know if paranormal thrillers is exactly the way I would describe it, but basically like suspense movies, like kind of like Get Out, where like there's a little bit of like I don't want to say sci-fi or like supernatural element, but the main thing that that type of genre film has with it is suspense and like real tension. That's the shit that I like in the movies.
So with you saying that, does that kind of play into the whole Black Mirror, Bandersnatch, Netflix kind of thing?
Yeah, that stuff to me, where like I just think that type of film or TV show, when you want to make the audience part of the experience, works so well.
Yeah, like you said, as the technology evolves with more interaction, I think that is a great point that'll become one of the more popular types of genres.
And Bandersnatch, I think the thing that I'm most excited for was not even necessarily like that episode itself, but I think it could be something that opens the door for a lot of other people. Like, well, we got to try it. I mean, Bandersnatch did it, and that shit was like, it was fine. It wasn't like incredible, but the concept of it and the execution, like, give me more of that.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, last question comes to us from Justin Square at Justin is a Square, and he asks, this is such a great question, Justin. Thank you. And by the way, thank you to sorry, I lost it. DF Bowstrong. Great question. Justin asks, what franchise will make it to space first? Fast and Furious or Mission Impossible? Geiger, weigh in.
It's got to be Fast and Furious. I don't know if it'll do it on the spinoff, but definitely on number 10. I think they'll be in fucking space. Like racing cars somehow on a planet that they found that actually has gravity. I'm not sure. I'm not in Hollywood. I'm not smart enough to write that script, but I think that Fast and Furious will hit there first.
First off, I'm offended by this question. Second off, I think Hobbs and Shaw, there's like a 10 to 15% chance they might go to space in that movie. Now that we've introduced superheroes, like, or superhuman abilities with Idris Elba, nothing is off the fucking table. The reason I'm offended is because don't you dare imply that Mission Impossible needs to go to outer space to get our attention. Mission Impossible Fallout was probably the greatest film of our lifetimes. And to say that that franchise has gas left in the tank is the understatement of the century. Nate, how about you?
Yeah, I completely agree. It's gonna have to be Fast and Furious. They're gonna get to some alien planet, and then there's gonna be some new alien technology that's introduced, and they're gonna start fucking racing UFOs through the atmosphere, and it's gonna be fucking phenomenal. I'll tell you that right now.
Dominic Toretto's gonna be like, I'm bored with race wars on Earth. Let's try race wars on Mars.
I love it.
And then the Elon Musk is like, I can get you there.
Yes, and that's actually one of the things that popped into my head first whenever this question came up was the fucking Tesla that Elon Musk threw up in space with a little space guy in it a couple years ago. Which
oh yeah, I forgot he did that.
Yeah,
that should have been Dominic Toretto.
Exactly. They should put some fucking thrusters on that and send it around Earth a couple times.
By the way, if you want to hear how we connected the Mission Impossible franchise to the band Fall Out Boy, go listen to the Broskers, episode 65. It's an incredible segue and connection. All right, before we head out, guys, any last thoughts on the Oscars, Fast and Furious going to space, or me not being able to not watch 2.5 hours of Infinity War when I have more important shit to do? Geiger, we'll go to you first.
No, good show, fellas. Good show.
Great fucking show. Nate, how about you?
Yeah, I'm drunk.
For the American hero, Nate Thurmond, and our enforcer in the paint, Matt Geiger, I am the mayor, Jeff Hornacek, and our producer, God, up in the sky, the mad scientist, Brian Banner. We have been the Bro4 Squad podcast. Thank you guys for listening to us. Please give us a follow on Twitter, @Bro4 Squad. Check out all of our reviews on the world famous, most popular destination on the internet, letterboxd.com. You can search for us there, Bro4 Squad, 3 words. Type those same 3 words into iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. Check out all of our content and subscribe to us there. And check out everything that we post, all of our content and our squad blog on our website, bro4squad.com. Till next time, we will catch you later.
Sugar, we're going down swinging. Loaded guy complex, cock it and pull it. We're going down, down.
I'm gonna need you to just go ahead and get another beer now.
Oh, you saw that?
Of course I saw it. Come on. As a producer director of this episode,
wow.
I am yes, I may be shirtless, but I am paid to notice details like that.
It cuts to Matt and I in the documentary. Like, does Brian have his weird things to do on set? Of course, but he's a visionary, and it's his
visionary, and you can't get in his fucking way because he will run over you.